You're listening to Female Founders with Claire Bartlett, the podcast that tells you what it is really like to be a female founder in today's world. We share invaluable insights through personal journeys and real-life business experiences, highlighting the highs and the lows so you can move forward in your business with ease. I am passionate to share with you the realities of business and give you the strategies and simple steps you need to truly succeed with your business. Today's episode is brought to you by Xero Accounting Software, a champion of female entrepreneurs and a proud sponsor of the Female Founders podcast. Managing your business finances can feel overwhelming, but Xero simplifies it all and gives you the power to keep your books in order and your mind on growth. Xero have offered an amazing 50% discount on your first 3 months with them. So if you'd like to take advantage of this amazing deal, just search refer.xero.com/female founders or follow the link in the show notes. Don't forget to give this show a follow to make sure you never miss an episode and share it with any incredible female founders you know. But for now, let's jump into this week's episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of Female Founders. And today I'm really pleased to be joined by Rachel Green, the innovative founder of Wow Mum, which is a platform dedicated to empowering mums to leave the traditional 9 to 5 and thrive as virtual assistants. Rachel's mission is to help mums achieve financial freedom and provide the best life for their families. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. What an intro.
Well, I love your mission. I love what you're doing. And it's so important, isn't it, to keep that balance in life?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think society tells us when we're growing up that, just go and get a job. Maybe you go to uni, do some exams at school, get a job, get married, have kids. And it's kind of like you don't have to go and get a job, but no one ever talks about owning your own business. I was definitely never, it wasn't something that was never considered. You have career talks at school and that never comes up. And I'm not sure whether it happens now or it's still the same, but I think there's a huge kind of lot of work that we need to do in order to change that. And especially for mums who feel like they have to go to work and they don't have an option. So I think, it's something that's really got to change. And that's why, Wow Mum came about, really, to help mums and make them realize that there is another way and they do have different choices.
I love that. I'd love to dive more into how you kind of stumbled onto this path. So can you tell me, is there a pivotal moment or person in your past that has put you into the place where you are today?
Yeah, definitely. I probably wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for my daughter, because she was born prematurely back in 2017. And I was in a job that I didn't really like, but she was in hospital for 8 weeks. We didn't really know whether she would survive because she only weighed 1 pound 10 ounces. So she was like the size of my hand. So it was just a huge wake up call. And I always said from that moment, the moment that she was born and she had to basically fight to stay alive, that I need to change my circumstances because I was just, in a job. It was very kind of like Groundhog Day, get up, go to work. I was feeling so unfulfilled and I just wanted something different. And I'd had my son Harvey and I just was thinking, I really want to be there at home and be able to work around them and not have to ask my boss for holiday or to go and pick them up from school if they were ill, and just to have complete control of that schedule. So when she was born, like I said, it was like a massive wake up call and it was time to kind of reassess my life. And from then on in, I decided that I needed something to change. And the main thing that needed to change was my work. I needed to do something different and I didn't know what I was going to do. That was just completely, oh my gosh, what am I going to do in this world where there's, so much going on. And, I've just been a PA for 15 years of my life. So that's all I knew. So I didn't really know what I was going to do. I just knew at that point that I had to do something different. And it was because of what happened to her. And she's fine now, but it was a massive roller coaster of a ride, and yeah, big wake up call.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, gosh, being a mum myself, I honestly can't imagine what you must have been feeling at that moment. And like you say, it just gives you that insight into reassessing your whole life and living with purpose, but also being a present mum, which is so important to so many of us. But it's really interesting what you say, because so many of us have all of those feelings. We want to be present mums and we want to be there for our families, but we don't realize or we don't see a way out of the situation that we're in, and we don't see the opportunities of owning our own time in effect. And it's very similar. So it was when I had my daughter that I set up my first business, because I wanted that flexibility around my time. And I think it's actually a very common reason that, when we become mums or something significant happens, we reassess everything and we're like, well, you want to live your life with purpose and own your own story. And when you go through school, like you say, you don't get told the options. You just like get a job, get married, have children, retire. You know, that's not what we should all be doing now. There's so many more opportunities to us available now that our parents and our grandparents didn't have. It wasn't as easy back then. So I think it's amazing that you not only have done it for yourself, but now you're on such a mission to help so many other women see the light and find that freedom for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. And I didn't know my pathway. Like, what happened after my daughter was born was I eventually came across the VA world. That means just virtual assistant. And because I'd been a PA, I'd got admin experience, I thought, oh, maybe this is something that I could do. And
Mm.
I was really scared, like, really worried, had all the fear. And I'm naturally like a really introverted person. So actually setting up a business was something that I had never considered and didn't even really want to do. But I kind of delved into what it was, what would actually need to be done in order to start a business. And I realized that actually this was the way that was going to give me that flexibility and that freedom, because being employed, you're so restricted
Yeah.
by everything, like your income, when you can go on holiday, how many days you can have sick. Like, you can't have that freedom. And I actually can't put words into, when you have your own business and can work from home, the amount of freedom that you can have, like, you can't really put a price on it. And I felt all the fear, and I started off as a VA. I then specialized in social media management, and after that, when I became like fully booked out with clients and I'd matched my corporate income, after that I was like, oh, now what can I do? And I was just like, well, why don't I just teach other mums what I had done? Because I'm sure, there at the time I thought, I'm sure there's a few mums out there that might, want to work from home. And that's kind of where it all started. But back in 2018, I never thought this is where I would be at all.
Mhm.
And I just think, a lot of mums and women that, they feel like they can't do these things. The kind of self belief isn't there. And that again has got to change, because I see so many women and the people that we teach, and they do feel fear and worried, and they have low confidence. But the way that we teach it is, build up that confidence, and they're going out there and they're, starting their businesses. They are, finding clients, they are making 5K months, which is possible over time. And I think there should be more women in the world that teaches this and shows other women that it is possible, because it absolutely is.
Yeah. And I think this is the point though, I suppose. Obviously your thing is called Wow Mum, and it's come from you becoming a mum or being a mum and going through that situation. But actually it's not just for mums, is it? It can help any woman or man who is wanting to make that shift in life. And I think, like we mentioned earlier, way back when in our parents' or our grandparents' world, it was very difficult for a woman to work, and especially difficult for a woman to work for themselves, and men not so much. And it's shifted now that we can all do it, but men still actually struggle so much with their confidence, just as much as women do in certain aspects. And I think we so often just focus on mums especially, there's a lot of talk about mums, and mum guilt and all of these things, that I talk about it a lot as well, because it's a real issue. But actually, the confidence levels, it can impact anybody, can't it? And I think sharing our experiences, which is the whole reason of this podcast, sharing our journeys and our experiences to help anybody else take that leap into self-employment and changing the narrative of their entire life, I think is so important. So how long have you been doing that element of work now?
So I started, originally we started helping mums to become social media managers, because that's kind of what I specialized in. So that was
Hmm.
back in the end of 2020. So we've been running like courses and memberships and free training to help mums to become social media managers. But last year I decided that I wanted to open it up and make more of an impact. So that's when we really started to help mums to become VAs, because I believe that you have existing skills within you that can be transferable and can help loads and loads of different business owners. So don't think of like being a VA as just doing admin. It covers all sorts of different services,
Hmm.
like graphic design, social media management, podcast management, even now in today's world, AI management. It might be doing event stuff. It might be doing some lifestyle VA work, which is, organizing maybe a real busy professional's home life and organizing that kind of stuff. So there's all sorts of different skills that you can actually use and actually get paid for them. And most of those skills you already have. You just need to define what you really love to do, what your strengths are, and there will be a service that you can provide for a business owner who will pay for it.
Yeah,
So
and it will
we
fit
we
your
started
needs.
that last year.
Amazing. So the social media management, when you started that, is that something that you had experience in, or was it just from a personal perspective, but you really enjoyed it and you wanted to?
No, so what happened was when I became a VA, I started out just doing general admin because I'd
Mhm.
done admin in previous roles. So I was just like, well, I think I know what I'm doing. I've never run a business before. So it was just kind of applying that to the online world and being
Yeah.
my own business owner. But what happened was business owners were starting to ask me about social media management. And I was like, what's that? Like, I didn't really know it was a thing. This
Yeah.
was back in 2018, and like I was on Facebook, but I wasn't really posting on Facebook, and I was seeing like what people had for dinner, and I didn't really not understand it, but I didn't really think that it was like something that I was really into. But then clients started asking me how, can I manage it? And I was like, well, okay, I'm happy to learn about it. And actually I kind of fell in love with it. And I was like,
Yeah.
actually, this is really, really fun. And it kind of, I'm not the most creative person, but I do have a little creative side. So I was kind of enjoying that part of it. And so I kind of specialized in the social media management. And then that's where I kind of came up with the idea of, well, okay, if I'm going to, do the social media management side of it, then I'm sure there's lots of other people out there who enjoy social media that could, offer this service. So that's kind of where it all started from. But my background is just admin for the last, 15 years.
Yeah. I love that. But it's so true that we all have so many transferable skills. And I would say everybody has an expertise in some area. We just don't always know it. And it can be in such random things. I was on a course once, and they said that a woman was making her independent income, working for herself, by selling her knowledge about Disneyland and Disney World. So she'd gone on loads of holidays there. So she put together, just quick ebooks or guides and things. So for someone like me, when I went and I was super busy, I didn't have the time to do all the research. I could just buy this ready-made plan off her, basically. And I thought, that's just a genius idea. Anything that that not everyone, it's not common knowledge, you can turn into a business.
Absolutely. It might be like that you're really into kind of organizing birthday parties, or
Yeah.
maybe you've organized a baby shower or your own wedding, for example. Like, you have skills. Those are all skills that you can actually apply to become, an event manager, or however you
Yeah.
want to say it, but to organize, those kind of events. And you might not think that you actually have those skills, but you do. And, that's why we really try and help people recognize what they're good at and what they like to do and the strengths that they do have. Because most of the time people will say, oh, well, I don't think I've, got any skills. Like, what can I offer? And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
have you done this? Have you done that? And there's actually a lady, and she's one in our membership at the moment. And she wanted to just offer she didn't really want to offer just general admin services. But she thought that's what she would be doing because she had like a bit of experience in it. But actually, what she's fallen into is building websites. And she built one for a friend, and she's like, oh my gosh, really love it. Like, I really enjoy doing that side of it. And now she's got all kind of website clients. So you might start off with just doing like general
Yeah.
admin, but then you can just change. Like, if you really find that you love something, you learn about it.
Yeah.
And you're always learning. Like, 6 years in, I'm always learning. It's not like you kind of learn something and stop, because there's always something new to learn. So
100%.
don't think that, oh, I've just got to do admin, for example, for the rest of my life. No, start off and then add other things in to the mix. It's a bit
Yeah.
like a pick a mix. Like, you choose what you love to do, and then you go out there and you offer it as a service, because there's nothing worse than building a business and doing something that you don't want to do. Like, if you find that. So I started off doing the general admin, but I was also doing audio typing, and I was terrible. Like, I hated it. But the guy that I worked with, he wanted me to do it. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll do it. But I hated doing it. So it wasn't something that I would then go out and shout about, because if I had ended up doing audio typing for all my clients, I would have just wanted to quit. So
Yeah.
it's very much like, well, let's find out, what strengths you have, what you like, maybe what you've done in a previous role or even in your personal life, and see how we can kind of make money out of that.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there with, actually, quite often you don't know until you start the business which areas of it you will like and which ones you won't like. And I think it's so common in the starts of business, right in those early days, that we are yes people, and you don't want to upset potential new clients. So you accept all the work. You said, yes, I'll do the audio typing, even though it's not, something that you really enjoy. And it was the same for my first business. It started out and it was just a bookkeeping practice, and we took on all different types of clients with all different types of bookkeeping, and they'd be dumping bags worth of crumpled receipts at my door, and I'm like, oh God, this is not really what I wanted to be doing. But businesses evolve, and you as a person evolve. None of us are the same person today as we were yesterday. We're constantly evolving, and I am always learning new things, the same as you. And that business is a completely different business than it was 10 years ago now. And the same as you, you started out doing audio typing, and look where you are now,
I know, like, I would
completely different business model. No,
never would have thought that I would be here. And I think that happens to most people. You've got to start
exactly.
somewhere, but
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be
exactly.
like that forever. Like, I could have just stayed, doing VA, social media manager services, and some people do, and that's absolutely fine if you're just, comfortable doing that. But sometimes there's a point where you get to and you're like, actually, I think I want to do maybe something different, or I want to make more of an impact, which is what I wanted to do. So,
Yes.
you start at the beginning and see what happens. And everyone's path or journey is different. So, just get started. It's the main
Yeah.
thing. And
Exactly.
see
You've
what
just got to,
happens, see where it
yeah,
takes you.
yeah. You've just got to, and this is, I think, so me and Rachel had a meeting before this session. And I think one of the things that came up that we both agreed on, that we both laughed, is one of our favourite lines, is to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
And and that's so true. When starting out your business, you have to just feel the fear. It's terrifying going into business for yourself. It really is. But you've just got to feel that fear and do it anyway, and just jump.
Absolutely. And I felt it a lot. It's not like something that you just get over. Like, it's always there, because I'm always trying to challenge myself. But I
Yeah.
do remember in the earliest stages where I was trying to find clients for my VA business, and I was going to networking meetings, I was terrified.
Yeah.
So terrified. Like, I was get really anxious and get really bad, like, stomach ache and butterflies and sleepless nights the night before. It's just like how I'm made up. And having to stand up and just talk about my business in front of a group of people terrified me. But I knew that I wanted to build a successful business. And I think what made me keep going was because I didn't want to have to go back to a job. I didn't want to have to go back and work for anyone else. So I was super kind of determined, and I wanted to be there working from home for my kids. So I was
Yeah.
like, I've got to do this. If you don't want to go back to work, Rachel, and work for someone else, you've got to get up and you've got to go to this networking meeting. And even though I felt the fear, I did it anyway.
Yeah.
And that's just one example, because there's lots of things that have happened where I've just felt scared, very, very scared.
Yeah. I think you've just got to make it non-negotiable, haven't you? And you've got to make it so that the desire outweighs the fear that you're feeling. So the long-term goal that you had of never having to go and work for someone else again and being that present mum outweighed the fear that you felt walking into that room. And it's completely like you said that, you start out and the networking events, for instance, terrify you. It was exactly the same for me. But now we could go networking tomorrow in a room of 100 strangers and we'd be okay because we've moved past that. But there are still things today that induce that fear, but it's something new. It's always a new next challenge that we put ourselves in front of that can be scary. Like setting up this podcast was, something I'd
'Cause it's
always
something
dreamed
that
of doing.
you don't know how to do. You do
Exactly.
now, but you didn't beforehand, and so
Yeah.
it seems scary. And anything that we haven't done before will feel scary until you get to a point where you know how to do it. And I have this when I do with my free kind of programs and courses and stuff. I have this sunflower picture, and basically it's like, you feel the fear but you do it anyway, and then you get really comfortable again because you know what you're doing, you have lovely clients, you know how to do the services, you're running an online business, it's going really well. But then you might want to do something else. So you might want to do some digital courses or create a membership, for example. Then you start feeling the fear again because you don't know how to do that. And so it's all very new. And it's like, oh my gosh, well, what do I do? What if someone says that I'm rubbish at it or something like that?
Yeah.
And then you go back into that uncomfortable kind of situation again. But you get
Yeah.
out of it, and it's just growing in knowledge, carrying on, having a really strong why. Like that is, it's
Yeah.
one of the things that we actually talk about in our membership, and it's one of the first things we get people to do is, what's your vision? Why are you doing this? What do you want out of your life? What are your desires? Because that is going to keep you motivated
Yeah.
and keep you carrying on when things perhaps don't go right, because that
Yeah.
will happen.
Yeah. No, it's true. I think you need to have that the motivation and keep that in your mind's eye. So when you are in these slightly uncomfortable situations, you know why you're putting yourself through it. And I also think that the level of uncomfortableness eases the more times you put yourself in challenging situations. Then actually, even the new situations are less challenging, because just because you know that you can handle it, and you know that you've succeeded in all of these other challenges throughout the history of your business, it becomes slightly easier to deal with, doesn't it?
It does. The more you do it, like that networking event, like I was terrified to begin with. I was probably terrified for the first 3 or 4 months.
Mm.
But, like you said, now it's not so scary because I've done it. And, it's, tomorrow I'm going to the BBC radio, and I've never done that before. And I'm not like petrified like I probably was back in 2018, because I've been a business owner for a while now, but I'll still have, the butterflies in the stomach because I've never done it before, and it's something new, and it's
Yeah.
really exciting. But once I've done that, I'll be like, oh yeah, I can do this now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's super exciting. Trish is lovely. So it's a really amazing experience to go.
Yeah.
But it's something, like you say, completely new for you. So it's a nice big challenge for you. And it's
Mhm.
the next step in the business, isn't it? Is getting levels like that.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. So I've got two versions of the same question for you here now. I
Okay.
would love to know what the best piece of advice you give people in your membership, people who are looking to start out in business, but also what the best piece of advice you have ever received in business.
Okay, cool. I'll start with the best piece of advice that I've seen from a quote by Nelson Mandela,
Mm.
which will probably lead into what I teach my my students, is that he said, I never lose, I either win or I learn.
Yeah.
And I really kind of gravitated towards that because it's true. Like, when I started, I thought, what if I fail? What if I don't get clients? What if no one wants to work with me? What if people don't like me? What if I put, posts out on social media and they don't get any engagement? Or what will my family and my friends think? And you think, oh my gosh, that's the worst thing. Like, if I fail, and I'll be so embarrassed and all that kind of thing. And I think, actually, like, it's not about failure. It's just about learning. There really isn't anything, there's nothing called it doesn't you're not going to fail. If you quit, you fail because you've given up, but you're learning. So everything is like a learning opportunity, and you learn how to go to networking meetings, you'll learn how to create a post on social media, and if no one engages, well, so what? But you've learned something from it. Or if you have a discovery call with a potential client and they end up saying no, or you get ghosted, it's okay. Like, it's not a failure, it's just a learning opportunity. You will have learned something from that discovery call.
Mhm.
And I don't think that you can really ever fail. You're just learning and tweaking. And, that is something that I, teach the people that come my way and come into my world, is that, you know, it's okay to feel the fear. Absolutely. 100% you're going to, and it's absolutely normal, but just treat it as, you're building up your knowledge and you're just learning as you go along, because you can't lose, you will win, and build up those like little mini wins. That's something that I would definitely recommend, is as you're starting your business, as you're venturing into this world, is just log any little mini wins. It might be your first one, might be just telling your parents what you're doing, or a family member that you're going to start a VA business. It might be, the second one might be, putting a post out there on Facebook, like your first social media post, which will probably feel scary to begin with, but start writing them down, because that's going to build up your confidence as well. And just, I would get a really nice, pretty notebook, and I would just call it My Wins, and I would just write everything down as you progress and as you go along your journey, because they're great to look over, especially when maybe a
Mm.
client says no, and you're like, oh, I'm rubbish at this, I want to give up. Just then you can look at that book and take it out and go, oh, actually, no, I did this. And this client said that I was really good at that. And I helped someone else do this. And it will build up your confidence. And, when you do get your first client, you actually then start believing that you can do it. So definitely my advice would get a book, a nice pretty notebook. If you're anything like me, love a good bit of stationery,
Love
get a
stationery.
physical get a physical
Love.
book, and just start writing down, your little wins. It might be deciding like what service you're going to offer, but all
Mm.
of these things is also going to help you make progress, and you'll look back at it and go, oh, look how far I've come. Because I think often we think about all the things we haven't done and all the things we've still got to do and all the
Yeah.
goals that we haven't achieved, but actually kind of zoom out and look back over the last year or 6 months. What have you actually achieved? It's
Yeah.
probably an awful lot, but we never kind of sit there and reflect. We're always worrying about what we haven't done.
Yeah, so that's really similar to something I do actually called the Pick Me Up Pack, which I did when the beginning of my business. And it's anytime a client sends me a message, or I love this meeting that we had, or, just something positive, or a little bit of reassurance, or support from a family member, or anything like that, or a picture of me doing something that's really out of my comfort zone. And I save it all into one place in my phone. So anywhere in the world, whenever I need a bit of confidence, I can just scroll through, and it really works having everything in one place to look back on.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. And I think, you almost need to like schedule time in your diary as well to make sure that you look back on what
Yeah,
you've done. And I know quite a lot of people do this kind of at the end of the year and once a year, but I would very much encourage to do it more often. And you'll see your confidence grow, because it will grow. Like, I've seen many women have really low confidence right at the beginning, and it's grown and grown and grown, and it's not only your business grows, but you grow as a person as well. And I
yeah,
think that's quite misunderstood. Like, people don't realize that actually when you run your own business, you are really going to see some personal growth that you perhaps never thought you would ever see before, especially like in a job, because it's just, there's no comparison to running your own business and being in a job, I don't think, anyway.
100%. And that I am such a different person today than I was when I set up my business in every single way possible. And people, it's so true that people don't realize actually the impact it has on you as a person having a business, and in all the right ways, like all the most positive ways possible. So yeah, I love that. So what top 3 tips would you give, Rachel, if people are listening to this and thinking, yeah, I like what Rachel's talking about, and I feel like maybe I have some skills that I could, become a VA with, or just step out into business on their own. How would you suggest they start?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing to do is, start looking into it, and you're very welcome to have my free starter pack, which goes through 9 steps of how to get started. um, and there's lots of free stuff in that, and we also have a quit your job roadmap in there as well. But in terms of like getting started, one of the first things is to decide what services you're going to offer. So
Mhm.
this is really looking at your strengths. So what kind of things have you done in your current role? Maybe you're a good listener. Maybe you're really good at typing. Maybe you really are good at designing. Maybe you really have that natural creative flair. Or maybe like your friends come to you and they tell you all their problems and you're a really good problem solver. So think
Mm.
about like what your strengths are. And then I think about, well, what are you interested in? Maybe you do love social media. Maybe you're on Instagram all the time. And if you are, that's great because you can get paid for it. Or maybe you are interested in more of the event side of things. Maybe you love being around people, organizing people, and creating, these amazing events for people, whether it's a birthday party or some kind of celebration. And and also then just think about your previous roles or a current job. Like, what do you do in that current job that you do enjoy but you feel like you're good at? Maybe you're really good at organizing. That's probably one of the things that I felt that I was good at, because I've been doing it for so long. Was I am
Mm.
quite a good organizer. I do like being organized, and I like helping other people be organized as well. So thinking about these kind of things, and then deciding what services to offer. And we actually have a list of over 100 services that you can offer. So I'm 100% sure that you can
There'll be
find
something.
something that you can
Yeah.
do. It might be that you really love research. Like, I had a client that wanted me to actually, bizarrely, research podcasts for him to go on. And so,
Ah,
and this is years ago, and I was trying to find all these different podcasts and collate all the data, so then he would say yes or no, and then I'd reach out to them. So there's so many different things that you can do. Don't just think that it's just typing or creating a document or something like that. There's such a massive variety. So definitely think about the services that you want to offer. um, the next thing, well, I'll probably do. I haven't done these in a very good order, but the first thing would be doing your vision. Like, why are you doing this, and what are your short term and long term goals? So maybe you are in a job that you don't want to be in anymore. Like, put a date on when you'd love to quit that job.
yeah,
And
so
how
powerful.
yeah, like, be realistic. Like, if you're going to start a VA business, it's unlikely that you're going to quit your job next week, but 3-6 months, it could be something that you
Mhm.
could achieve if you take the action. So think of a day of when you love to quit your job, and think about how much money you would need in order to do that. Or it might be, if you don't have a job, for example, but you want to start a business, it might be, well, when do you want your first client, or when do you want to launch your business? Try and put some dates, put some goals in place. So they're kind of the shorter term goals, but what's your longer term vision? And often this is a little bit harder, because you're like, well, I don't know what I want in a year's time. But I would very much start envisaging and thinking bigger than perhaps you've ever thought possible, because I don't know about you, Claire, but no one ever said to me when I was employed, what would you love in your life? Like, really, the things that you desire the most, what are they? Is it a nice car? Is it to volunteer at a local animal charity? Maybe it's to create your own charity. Maybe it's to give some money to a cause that is close to your heart. Or maybe you want to buy your first property, or have a really nice kitchen, whatever it might be, like, or go on holidays like 4 times a year to, luxury places. What are your goals? Like, what's your vision? What would you love to have in your life? Because it's really, really important, like we said earlier, to have these. And I actually have a vision board, and it's up, it's right in front of me now. And I've literally done it with a glue and a bit of cardboard, and I got my kids involved, and I asked them what they would love, and I printed off pictures, cut them out, stuck them on the board. Because when you can see it and visualize it and think about it, it's more likely going to happen. But it's so important to do that. So that was your vision board. Then it was, decide your services. And then we're kind of thinking more of the practical steps to get started. I would think about someone that you'd love to work with. So your kind of ideal client. We're not really talking about a specific business that they have, but I'm talking more about, who is it that you would love to work with? Is it, a female, I was going to say a female mum then, but you know, maybe it's a really busy female professional who is in the C-suite sector. So they might be a CEO, CFO, and they have a really busy life. They have an amazing career that they love, but their home life is completely disorganized. They don't know where they're supposed to be going. They would love someone to organize maybe a family holiday, maybe look after, a birthday party, get presents, that kind of thing. So if there's someone like that, then it's easier to then go and market to them and find them. Because if they are a busy female who is in the C-suite sector, they're probably going to be on LinkedIn. So that would be a really good place for you to focus on and, start building your network. Because, you need to have clients in order to make money, in order for you to have a business. So just think about the type of person that you would like to work with. Maybe you've had an old boss or an ex-colleague that you really loved, like you love their characteristics, you love their personalities, you love their values. If you can think of someone, it's going to be easier. And then think of that kind of person. Well, I'd love to work with this kind of person, and she's a mum and she's got 2 smaller kids, but she's got a great business that she absolutely adores, but she has no time. And maybe she lives local to me, and she has really good morals, we share the same values. Think of that type of person, because then it's easier to go out there and find them and attract them and secure them as clients. So those are the 3 things I would definitely suggest. And can I just put in one more?
Cheeky number 4, go for it.
I would also recommend that you just believe in yourself. Just, see, like, if Claire's an inspiration, I'm sure you've got many women on your podcast who are as well. Just believe that you can do it, that it is possible for you. If you are someone who would love to come away from your 9 to 5, replace that income and have more flexibility and freedom, that it is possible. And I always say, like, just you've just got to start somewhere, put on your big girl pants and go out there. It's not as bad as you might feel, and just take those little baby steps, get your book out, fill it up, and your confidence will grow.
Yeah, I mean, if you and me have been able to do it, Rachel, anyone can do it. Everybody has the ability to do it. It's just about having that belief in yourself. I love that. And when you were describing the C-suite person, I just had Devil Wears Prada playing in my mind. And I was like, but actually that it made me think that you could use roles in films as inspiration, who, I mean, also earlier you were talking about organising events, and I've only just watched The Wedding Planner, so I was thinking about J-Lo in that, and I thought you could look through movies and who you would love to work with in these chick flicks that you've watched or whatever, and then where would they be hanging out in real life?
Such a great idea. Such a great idea. I'm going to add that one to my little list.
I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to look through movies. Who would I love to work with?
Yeah, I always think about, people that have come into my world that I've really, got on well with and vibed with. But actually, there is some definite kind of film, role models out there that could be a great way to kind of identify who you'd love to work with. And
I
yeah, that
mean,
devil wears
I was
Prada.
going to
Yeah,
say
she's
Miranda might not be the most
no, she's a bit of a
inspirational one.
force to be reckoned with, but
Yeah.
some people don't mind that style.
No. Yeah, not for me, but yeah, I'm going to do that, and I might do a post about it actually, and we can all see who our ideal client is in the movie world.
That's a brilliant idea. Brilliant.
Mm. But yeah, so moving on from that and talking about the struggles that we've discussed earlier, and sometimes it is really difficult in business, no matter how successful you are. Sometimes we still do have to face the fear, or we have those tough times. So have you ever wanted to quit in your business?
Oh, yes. Lots. Like I think having your own business is very much like a roller coaster. Like
Yeah.
most of the time it is really good. Like I think the good times far outweigh the bad times. But it is this kind of roller coaster ride where things are going amazingly well, and then something happens, and you know it might be, if anyone is wanting to, be a VA, or even with clients, and they say no, or they don't want to work with you, and then you feel really down, and then you start kind of thinking, oh, I'm no good, no one wants to work with me, or why didn't you want to work with me, and am I not good enough, did I do something wrong? And you get all these kind of mind monkeys, and you start telling yourself these stories, and you might think, oh, I want to quit. And I have thought, oh, this is hard. Like, why is, no one engaging with me? Why, is that not working? Or, maybe, we do a lot of free events as well, and it might be that, oh, it didn't, I didn't get enough people in as I wanted to. Why is that? And you think, oh, is no one listening? Is no one interested? But you've just got to get over it. And that's where you build up that resilience. You build it up and you
Yeah.
build it up. And, if that's a quality that I think I have really built up over the last 6 years. Because I think that I am quite resilient, or I was quite resilient, but not as much as I wanted to be when you run your own business, and you get a lot of naysayers as well. Well, I
Yeah.
do, especially when you put yourself out there. I'm not saying really as a VA that I did, but definitely as someone who mentors other people, you get a lot of, pushback, naysayers, bullies, trolls, and it's
Mm.
really kind of just ignoring them and getting yourself back up and remembering why you're doing this in the first place. That is always what makes me carry on. But I've said to my husband many times, I'm going to quit. I'm going to go back and get a job. And he's like, no, you're not. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, no, I'm not. But
Yeah,
I
I'm
really
not.
feel like it today.
Yeah.
So, I would never quit. I would never go back to a job, because I just, what I've achieved over the last 6 years and what it's enabled me to do has been amazing, that I would never
Yeah.
have ever found working for someone else. So I will never quit, but there's definitely times that I've felt like it,
Yeah.
for sure.
I think in business it can be quite a love-hate relationship at times. You
Yes.
know, I mean, I've said this on many of an episode. There's been many times where I've thought, yeah, I've had enough. The joy's gone out of it, in a really difficult situation. And I say, I'm walking away, I've had enough. But actually I don't mean forever. And I don't think I could ever forever stop working for myself. I think I'm probably unemployable now, even if I wanted to go back to employment. I've worked for myself for so long. I don't think I could answer to anyone else. But the resilience comes with the time. Like now, I'm strong enough to, if I've had a really bad day, I'll walk away from the computer. I'll do something that's just for me. Some mindset or whatever. Just chill out, and then when I come back to it with fresh eyes, everything's better again. But my resilience in the early days was non-existent. I did take things really personally, and I did get really upset. Um, and I have spoken about this before, but when I lost my first client, that really upset me, and I felt that it was personally, something that I had done. And it was only the next day when I, sort of could take a breath and be like, it's absolutely nothing to do with us. It's a mere situation. And that would happen to everyone. But in that moment, it feels big. And
It does.
every time something happens for the first time, it can feel quite big to you. And I think it's important now. I'll look back at those days, and remember how awful I felt in those moments and be like, I don't ever feel like that anymore because I understand now the flows, ebbs and flows of a business and that it is a roller coaster. Um, but yeah, it's tough. And I think it's so important that we speak about that because back then, in those early days, I didn't know anyone else. Nobody was speaking about it. I felt like I was a failure and I was the only one ever to be in that situation. And obviously, that's absolute rubbish. We all do it. In whatever business model we have, you will have those dark days. So it's just learning that there is always light at the end of the tunnel, and also to speak about it. Find yourself communities like you've built, Rachel, and that I have female founders.
Yeah.
Where you can voice about it and moan and just get it off your chest.
Yeah, that's, I would say, like, build, like, get a community, go
Yeah,
into a community, find a community with people filled with your kind of people, because when you have a community around you, you're not alone. Like, that's
yeah,
one of the
ever.
things, that we've built. And I encourage people to post in our community about, how they're feeling. If something didn't go right, then, tell us about it and we can help you through it, because you definitely will have those down days. And we actually have a call every month in our membership, and we had some lovely ladies on the call just on Monday, and we were talking all about this stuff, because she had a potential client had said no, and I was like, it's nothing that you've done. Like, it maybe not might not be the right time, something might be going on in their life, for example. So it's not necessarily you, and sometimes we just have to take the emotion out of it. But it
Yeah,
is hard. Like, it is really hard, and I've had many times where I've just thought, what have I done wrong? Like, is it me? And it's just, I think you just need to kind of take yourself away from it, go for a
yeah,
walk, do something that you really enjoy doing, whether it's reading a book, and forget about it. But don't kind of dwell on it for too long. You've got to
yeah,
kind of get yourself back out there, and carry on. And having that why and having that vision board as well is something that will help you do that, I think.
yeah. I love vision boards. But I think it's like you say, you do need to take the emotion out of it because it is business, it's not a personal attack. But it's that can be difficult because especially in the early days, your business for me, for a long time, I used to joke that the business was my second baby, and it sort of feels like it's a part of you. So it is really difficult to take your emotion out of it. And I think that can only come with sort of experience and working through those early days to understand that actually none of it is personal and it is just business.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm the same. Like, I think it's like my third baby, and
Yeah.
it is like a part of me. So if someone says something horrible, or you do take it personally, like, how
Mhm.
can you not? We're human, and we have feelings and we have emotions. But I think you've then got to realize, like, what you have achieved and who you have helped. Like, that's a massive thing for us, is all the people that we have helped. That's like the most important thing for us, is that we are making
Yeah.
that impact, that we are changing, well, helping change lives, and the lives of their families. So you have really got to sulk for a while.
Yeah.
You will. It's normal though, and it's normal to feel down, but you got to get up and back on it, or otherwise you just stop. And we don't want you to stop. We want you to carry on.
Yeah. There's nothing more powerful, a reason, I suppose, to what you've just said. All of us in business, we're impacting people's lives in a positive way, whatever the business model is. And it's just keeping that in mind, isn't it?
Yeah, keep it at the
Absolutely.
forefront.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much, Rachel, for joining us today. Really appreciate that chat. If people are interested in working with you more or just finding out more about you, where would they find you?
Well, we have a Facebook group on Facebook called Wow Mum, so you can just search there. But if you want the free guide, just go to wowmum.io/starter pack, and you'll get emails, our free resource, and you can check that out. And you get in there, actually, you'll get emailed how to follow us. We're on Instagram as well, and also on LinkedIn. So come
Perfect.
and I do loads of like free stuff. I do loads of like free reels just to help you. That's very much one of our things, is to give away lots of stuff to help you, get on your
Yeah.
journey. So come and sign up to that free resource. It's probably the best way to help you get started.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll put all the links in the show notes as well for everybody.
Brilliant.
But yeah, just thank you so much again for joining us, Rachel. And thank you to the listeners, as always, for joining us this week. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Let me know if you've got any more questions or just the bits that you've enjoyed the most out of the episode. And I will look forward to catching up with you all again next week. Have a great week. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, which was brought to you by Xero Accounting Software, a champion of female entrepreneurs and a proud sponsor of the Female Founders podcast. If you're running a small business and you're dreaming big, then Xero is here to help make those dreams a reality. Xero is all about supporting women like you, who are not just running businesses, but are also changing the game. So whether you're just starting out or you're scaling up, join a global community of female founders who trust Xero to manage their finances efficiently. Just visit refer.xero.com/female founders to learn more. But for now, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share this episode with all the incredible female founders you know. And together, let's change what it means to be a female founder in today's world.